My name is Nick Sokolowski, and I run the only dry cleaning shop left on Gresham Avenue in Detroit that still does same-day service. I've been telling myself for 20 years that what happened behind Reuther Middle School was something I'd take to my grave. I changed my mind this morning. They found a kid's body in the storm drain on the east side. Drained. Not a word I used lightly. The news said bloodless, then corrected themselves, said it was likely an animal attack. Classic Detroit dodge. Say something halfway honest and then walk it back before the 6 o'clock block. But I know what I know, and I know that drain. I know it the way you know the scar on your own hand. I was 12 years old the summer they still let kids play on the field behind Reuther. The school sat on a stretch of Gresham that used to have 3 gas stations, a Save-A-Lot, and a Coney Island that stayed open until 2 in the morning. Mostly it was just the school and the field. A huge, flat, badly mowed patch of grass where we played every single afternoon until our moms started yelling from the windows. The field had one rule. 1. Stay away from the drain. It wasn't fancy or anything. It was this big old concrete mouth in the ground, maybe 4 feet across, built back when the neighborhood was different. Back when somebody actually planned for where the water was supposed to go. Old Mr. Probilski, who taught 5th grade since approximately 1947, said the British built it. What I do know is that it was almost always dry. Bone dry. People said if you ever heard water in it, walk away. Don't ask why. Just go. The day I'm gonna tell you about was late August. Humid the way Detroit gets in August, where the air feels like it's trying to press you into the ground. My buddy Dalton Briggs, a big kid who could hit a baseball 3 blocks and was extremely proud of this fact, had sent a pitch straight into the outfield and the ball just disappeared. We argued about whose fault it was for about 15 minutes because that's what 12-year-olds do. Then one by one, everyone drifted toward the gate. Except me. Dalton called back over his shoulder. It went toward the drain, man. Go get it. You owe us. I did not owe them, but I went anyway. I went because I was 12, and 12-year-olds make bad decisions with complete confidence. And because the sun was still up, and because it was just a drain. The field was quiet in a way it usually wasn't. Like even the bugs had somewhere better to be. The security lights along the fence were flickering. One of them had been flickering since April, and the school district was apparently in no rush. And I was walking slow, eyes down, looking for the ball in the weeds near the drain. That's when I heard it. Water. Moving water down inside that concrete mouth. Real water flowing. And the drain had been dry since I was old enough to remember it. My stomach did this thing where it listed to one side and stayed there. I didn't move closer. I want you to know I did not initially move closer. I stood still and told myself it was drainage. Just physics. Just the thunderstorm from 2 days back. And then something inside the drain said my name. Not my full name. Just Nick. Real quiet. Real friendly. I grew up on the east side. I know how to tell the difference between somebody playing a prank and something that isn't a prank. This wasn't a prank. The voice was too even. Too patient. It didn't have that thing where a kid tries not to laugh. I picked up a chunk of broken concrete from beside the drain. There was always broken concrete near the drain. Another thing nobody ever fixed, and I held it in my right hand and I looked in. The drain was lit up, not from a flashlight, just lit warm and gold and deep, like the inside was way bigger than the outside. And down there, way down, there were colors. Bright ones. Toys, I thought. Just warmth. Just this very particular kind of want pulling at the middle of my chest. Come on down, the voice said. I got things to show you. I took 3 steps toward it. 3 full steps. My sneakers were right at the lip of the drain, and the smell hit me. Rotten, wrong, like old meat left in standing water. And the warmth was still there, the colors were still there, and I was still moving forward, which made no sense because I could smell what it was. I knew what it was, and I was still... A hand came up out of the water. Pale. Long fingers. Too long. And it was holding our baseball like some kind of offering. Or bait. I threw the concrete and ran. I didn't stop until I was through the gate, across the street, and up the stairs of my building on Seneca. I locked the door. I sat on the kitchen floor. My mom was watching the news. They were doing a story on a hantavirus scare at Detroit Receiving Hospital, something about blood work results that didn't add up, and I remember staring at the TV thinking the world had gone genuinely strange all at once on the same Tuesday evening. I didn't tell a single person. Not my mom, not Dalton, not our friend Shane Kowalski, who lived on the 3rd floor and spent that whole week playing Subnautica 2 on his tablet and refusing to come outside, which in retrospect I am grateful for. Here's the thing about growing up where I grew up. If you told an adult something strange happened, one of two things would occur. Either they wouldn't believe you, or they would believe you and it would cause a lot of crying and phone calls. Neither option was helpful, so I kept it. I went back to school. I played on the field, just further from the drain. I watched it the way you watch a dog that's bitten somebody, casually, from the corner of your eye, pretending you're not watching at all. For 2 weeks, nothing happened. The drain was dry again, silent. Then Dalton started acting different. He stopped talking as much. Dalton Briggs, a kid who had never once in his life been quiet for more than 45 seconds, went quiet. He stopped showing up to the field. When I saw him in the hall at school, he'd look at me and there was this pause, like he was processing, like something behind his face was running a little slow. His eyes. I don't want to oversell this. I'm not the kind of guy who goes around claiming he saw something supernatural in somebody's eyes. But Dalton's eyes had this flat yellow tint right around the pupils that hadn't been there before. Like old headlights. Like something that used to make light but was running low. One afternoon, he grabbed Shane's arm in the cafeteria. Shane showed me later. For bruises, finger-shaped, in a row. Same arm. 3 days after the cafeteria thing, I woke up at 2 a.m. No reason. Just awake. The way you sometimes are when something's wrong but you don't know what yet. I went to my window. The field was dark, but the broken security light was doing its flicker, and in the stuttering light I could see the drain. And I could see Dalton. He was standing at the edge of it, perfectly still, facing it. Just standing there in his pajamas at 2 a.m. like that was a completely normal thing to do. And then I saw the shadow behind him. Not a person. Not the right shape for a person. Too tall. Too narrow. And it had its hands, or the things that were its hands, on Dalton's shoulders, steering him, slowly, toward the drain. I banged on my window. Dalton didn't turn around. I banged again, harder, and the shadow looked up at me. No face I could read, just flat yellow where eyes should have been. I ran downstairs in my socks. No shoes, no jacket. The way you run when your brain has given up on being reasonable and is purely trying to get your body somewhere before something irreversible happens. I hit the street and I ran across to the field and I screamed Dalton's name and he was fine. Standing at the drain, hands in his pockets, looking at me like I was the one who'd lost it. No shadow, no yellow glow. "What's wrong with you?" he said. He sounded like himself. He looked like himself. His eyes were regular brown. I felt, well, you know how the human body processes humiliation. I stood there in the cold in my socks feeling like an idiot, and Dalton walked home without another word, and I went back upstairs. I didn't sleep. 4 days later, Shane Kowalski spiked a fever of 104. His mom called my mom. The fever wouldn't break. They took him to Detroit receiving. He was gone by Friday, 7 years old. Cause of death listed as acute viral illness. His grandma told my mom he'd had bite marks on his arm. 4 of them, finger-shaped, that the doctors kept calling lacerations of unclear origin. Same arm where Dalton had grabbed him in the cafeteria. Nobody connected it. Why would they? Kids get sick. Detroit receiving was still fielding calls about the hantavirus cluster. The results from the blood work still weren't adding up. Everyone was exhausted. There was nothing to connect. Except me. I am not a brave person. I want to be very clear about that before I tell you what I did next. I went back to Dalton's building and knocked on the door, and when Dalton answered, I asked him to open his mouth and show me his teeth. He stared at me. "Do it," I said. "Please." He smiled, this wide, slow smile, and opened his mouth. Normal, 12-year-old teeth, 1 silver filling on the bottom left. Completely ordinary. But when he exhaled, I smelled it. Faint. Under the normal smell of a 12-year-old who'd been eating chips. The drain smell, that dead water, old meat smell, just barely there. Same one that hit me at the edge of the drain the night of the hand. I stepped back. Dalton's eyes caught the hallway light. Yellow, just for a second. Then regular brown again. I told his parents. His mom got angry. His dad asked me to leave. My own mom suggested I was going through something and made an appointment with the school counselor. 2 weeks later, I moved to my aunt's place in Hamtramck. It wasn't presented as a choice. My mom had a new job, needed to be closer to the plant. That's what she said. But she did it fast. She did it the week after 2 more kids from the Seneca block showed up at Detroit receiving with fevers. One made it, one didn't. The one who didn't was a girl named Holly, 2nd grade. Tiny kid with a gap in her front teeth. She'd been playing on the field 4 days before she got sick. Dalton's family left around the same time. His name just stopped coming up. Nobody asked about him. It was like there was a hole in the middle of every conversation that should have had his name in it. I never saw Dalton again. His parents told someone they were moving to the suburbs. Fresh start. But Dalton's name just stopped coming up. Nobody asked. It was like talking about him had a hole in it that everyone instinctively stepped around. I'm 42 years old. I run a dry cleaning shop on Gresham. Most days I don't think about the drain. I think about the thing that used to be in it and whether it's still there, and whether the city filled it in the way they said they were going to 8 years ago, and whether filling it would even matter. This morning, reading the news on my phone over a cup of gas station coffee. A kid, bloodless, in a storm drain on the east side. I spilled the whole cup on my shirt, which is, I realized, the wrong thing to be thinking about. Whatever was in that drain didn't leave. It waited. If you've ever lived near something like that, you know exactly what I'm talking about. Drop your story in the comments. I read every one. And maybe don't go looking for anything at the edge of a drain after dark. Just a thought.